Hi, everyone. I'm Cecilia Curtis, and I want to welcome you to the Friendship Tour, where we talk about the true gift of friendship. We talk about making friends, keeping friends, and everything in between with the hope that we can all enjoy that sisterhood and community we need and want. Today's guest is Stewanna Dasari. She's from New Orleans. She calls Houston, Texas home, but she now lives in Northern California, which is where I live. So lucky me, she is one of my amazing local friends. Stewanna is a federal prosecutor, a wife, a boy mom, and a podcaster. She has a true crime podcast called Minority Crimes that focuses on cold cases against minority victims that are often overlooked. Such an important podcast. She is quite literally one of the busiest people I know. She's often on the road, and when she's not, she's being really intentional about spending time with family, planning epic birthday parties for her sons, and spending time with friends. And that's why she's here today to talk about being too busy for friends, but also never being too busy for friends. Hi, Stewanna.
Hi, Cecilia. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Thanks for being here. I know how busy you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. But as you said, I am intentional about friendship. So I definitely was super excited and could not wait to join you when you gave me the invite.
I'm surprised you joined me so quickly. I have to talk about you for just a minute because I had this idea just a couple days ago and I sent you the message and I really, really hoped you would say yes, but I didn't think there was anybody else who could do this topic justice. So I really hoped you would say yes, but I expected you to be like, let me put you on my calendar in 3 to 6 months. I didn't think you were going to come back with your availability for this week. So thank you for working me in. Your email was very Stewanna like, though, because it said something like, I'm available Sunday night after 6 p.m. I'm available Tuesday through Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m. sharp. And this is my availability at the time of this email. It is subject to change, and please govern yourselves accordingly. I was like,
True
okay,
lawyer
I'm
fashion.
exaggerating a little bit, but not that much. I mean, so it was very funny.
hmm
But thank you for making time and just spending time with me this evening when all our kids are in bed so we could hang out and
Yes.
do this.
Thank goodness.
I know, right? Thank God for bedtime so we can actually get stuff done. So thank you. Thank you. Well, you've listened to my podcast and thank you for being such a supporter and encourager.
Yes.
You know that I always like to ask people how we met. So do you remember where we met or how we met?
Absolutely. We met at first, we informally met, right? At one of our mutual friends' um, ceremony where he was being promoted. And I was the mistress of ceremony, and I forgot to acknowledge some very important people. You and your husband being those people.
I'm
and
not
he
that important.
well, you were important to me, and
Oh.
the guest of honor. And so when I met you, you were just radiant, super
Oh.
beautiful, super approachable, and I was like, "Who is this lady?" But I was gonna get FaceTime because I was like, "She is someone I want to know." So after that informal meeting, we all went to lunch and we were at the table. We are opposite sides of the table
Mhm.
and we were having engaged in different conversations with the guest of honors family members. And I would hear some of your conversation and you would hear some of mine.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, who is this lady? She is really, insightful. I thought you were insightful, very warm, and I always think that's important because I think when you make connections with people, especially me,
Mhm.
when I make connections with people, it's not just seasonal. Our relationship might be cyclical and season based
Mhm.
on where I'm at, but it's for life. So even if we're super close in one season, later on in life we can become close again. I'm always gonna avail myself. And so when you find those people who are warm, such as yourself, and who have something that they're adding and that you feel a pull and tug on you, I think it's important to avail yourself and be transparent to see if that relationship can develop. Because to me, um, friendship is so important because we all need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we get in our own head sometime and think we don't. We kind of isolate ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
But really and truly, the strength lie in the relationship and the connections. And so I'm always opening myself up for those connections because I know they're far and few between. And when they do come about, it's important for me to capitalize on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember that I guess it was a lunch. It wasn't dinner. But we
Was it
were we
lunch?
were at
Okay.
opposite ends of the table and I was like, "What's
Yes.
she saying over there? What's she saying down there?" And I just couldn't I wasn't close enough to you and I didn't want to seem creepy like I was eavesdropping and trying to
Correct.
insert myself into your side of the table, but I wanted to know. I wanted to know what y'all were talking about and what you thought about certain things, but I just couldn't physically get close to you. There were a lot of people in between.
Same.
Um, but yeah, so that brings me, I usually ask, what is your favorite friendship moment? I'm still going to ask you, but I want to tell you mine because it it's related to how I felt when I met you. So when I
Okay.
met you, you were in that official capacity. You were all buttoned up, like literally you had on your dress
Yes,
clothes
I
and
did.
so I thought you seemed cool and I thought you seemed interesting and smart and all these things, but I just physically couldn't get close enough to you to get to know you better. And then I ended up bumping into you at a family event. You were there with your kids. You have four sons, and your husband wasn't there. My husband wasn't there. I was there with my three sons. And we shut the place down.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
the whole
did.
event ended. They put away all the bouncy houses.
Mhm.
Nobody was there. It was just us in an empty parking lot with our kids. I don't know. They were like, "Mommy, are we ever leaving?" And we just stood
Right.
there and talked. Um, but I really enjoyed that moment because it was just raw. It was just you and me getting to know one another. And I heard you say when I met you that you had kids, but I didn't know you had that many kids. I
Four.
was like, she got more sons than I do. Like, I didn't know that until that day. And then we were at the parking lot and everything was over and there were still all these kids there. And I was like, I know how many I brought. How many kids
Right.
did you bring? So I just enjoyed that. You told me about your podcast. You told me about some of the places you had lived and some of the work you were doing. And I was like, yeah, she's cool. This could work. We could hang out.
I was like the lady in the shoe with all of these kids. They were just running around entertaining themselves. And you're
Yeah.
right. What was confirmation for me about the friendship was that we felt similar about certain topics.
Hmm.
And sometimes I don't like to share certain topics because
Yeah.
people can, if they don't know your true heart or they don't know who you are, especially very new in our relationship, you can be like, oh, who is this person? Why does she feel like that? But I just felt like we were very both open and honest about what we were and what we wanted to do. And it was very similar. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, that cemented the deal. This lady
Yeah.
is cool.
Well, you told me a little bit about what friendship means to you, how you see everyone as a friend for life, maybe cycles of friendship, but a friend
Yes.
for life. Um, but still, it's really tough. Like, I've been talking to women for much of the last year about friendship, and I hear the same things over and over again. Like, I really want more friends, but I'm just too busy.
Yes.
Or I have friends, but I don't have time to spend with them. Everyone has the same kind of story or longing, and
Mhm.
I just wanted to talk about it. I mean, you're very busy. I think some people
Easy.
say they're busy, but they're not that busy. You actually are busy. What is it that keeps you so busy? And what do you think it is that keeps other people so busy?
Well, life is busy in itself, right? Like we're all with the grind, and my grind, as you know, is being a federal prosecutor. So I travel across the country, sometimes the world, and I'm sometimes gone 2 to 3 weeks out of a month.
Yeah.
And so when I'm home, I want to spend that time with my family. And so that also keeps me busy because I don't really believe in not being there for the important moments. I want to be there for my kids and my husband. And so that takes a lot of sacrifices. So that keeps me busy making sure that I do things so that I can meet those obligations, and those things that I really want to be there for. But I think that even though I'm busy, and the podcast, and there's other things too that I will tell you about that I do that keeps me busy. But more than anything, I think when you know that you're busy, the first thing is being very transparent and honest with your friends and letting them know, hey, I'm busy.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've always pride myself in letting my friends know this is what my schedule looks like. And I do send emails like that. Hey, this is when I'm available. Get on the schedule. Because if I put you in, you're
Yeah.
in, right? I don't believe in that old saying about you make time for what you want, because honestly, there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
Now, when I do utilize that time, I'm going to make good on it. And it's very intentional because I realize that my time is limited. So
Yeah.
I am that friend that when I'm transparent with you, I'm also trying to figure out active listening to see what's really important to you. Like if your children are important to you, they're important to me. If your podcast is important to you, is important to me. And so I try to find ways to show up for you in the ways that I can
Hmm.
and always be there for you when you know that you need me. So my friends, I have a rule with them. Like one of my good friends recently, she was going through a situation and I was in trial and I was like, hey, when I leave this trial, I called my husband and said, I think I'm going to take a flight over here to see this friend because she needs me.
Mm.
But that's not all the time, right? And but I knew she needed me, and so I'm going to be there for her because my friends know, since I'm honest with them about my time, they're never going to waste it. And not that, what I mean by that is they are going to say, hey, I really need you, and that's when I'm going to show up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. We're not out there crying wolf. We're not out
Yes.
there saying, I need you. And really, we can figure it out
Yes.
on our own. It's really,
Exactly.
we're using our words in the way they're meant to be used. We actually do need you if we say that we do. So,
Yes, and I
yeah.
will show up.
Yes, you will. You do. And we gonna respect that schedule because you gonna keep us on the
We got
schedule.
pencil in
We're
it.
gonna respect the schedule. Yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
we're all busy with work, with stage of life, with the kids, family commitments, things come up with parents, siblings, all this stuff keeps us busy. Is there anything else that you think just gets jammed into everyone's lives that just has us all feeling so busy?
I think sometimes, to be honest with you though, we don't prioritize our time. So sometimes we say that we're more busy than what we actually are. We're just not
Exactly.
utilizing the time correctly, right?
Right.
And as a parent and as a wife and as a mother of boys, yeah, we sometimes want to take a break. But, in those times, what are we doing? And yes, by all means take a break, but are we really busy for the things that what are we busy with? Are we busy watching Real Housewives of Atlanta? Nothing wrong
Right.
with that. Do whatever you need to do to basically entertain yourself. But are we busy watching television? What are we really busy doing? And so we need
Right.
to sit back and see, like, what is taking up my time? Is the things taking up my time that's going to pour into me? And to me, that's friendship. So that has to be at the top of my list. And so
Hmm.
yes, though I think we're busy, I think if we prioritize our time and really see the benefit of the relationship, I think we can do better. I think we all have room for improvement.
Yeah. I agree. Like TV, social media, everybody needs to decompress however they do that, watching something, exercising, scrolling a bit. But
Right.
it's tough to make the argument that you're busy if you've spent 2 hours today scrolling, on your social media platform of choice. That is not a judgment. That is just
At all.
where I see time being sucked out of my
Hmm.
life and people around me. Like you actually have 2 extra hours. You're just not utilizing that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it happens to all of us. These phones are just always in our faces.
Addictive.
It's just
I have
hard
a
to look
rule.
at.
I
What's
have
your
a
rule?
rule. When I'm in my home, like, so at a certain time, that's another thing that my friends know. after 6 o'clock p.m., I put my phone, everybody does. Any electronic devices, we put it in a box and we put it away from us. Because
Hmm.
there's some science to, even if you have the phone in your face and you're not using it, that sends a message to somebody else. But I do the
Yes.
same thing when I'm in front of friends, right? Like I try to put the phone away. And with friends, I make sure that I'm intentional about some friends. I put them on my calendar where it's just emailing them or texting them and saying, hey, how are you? Or if I'm interested in a social media post, I might share that with several friends to engage them in different conversations to really make sure that I'm keeping that connection.
Yeah. Do you put the phone away at 6 p.m. for the night, or is it just to get through dinner and bedtime with the kids? How long
Oh
do you
no,
put it away for?
6 to 8:30.
Okay, 8:30. I was like,
I
"Oh,
have
that's
to
good."
decompress too.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So
Yes,
it's not necessarily your view that everyone is so busy, it's that we are not prioritizing our time. So if
correct.
we're
Yeah,
spending too much time in the wrong area, we're not spending enough time with family, and then that trickles over to kid or to friends. Like you have to put in the time.
absolutely.
Okay, I got it. I got it now. I agree. I absolutely agree. Um, I do think it comes down to prioritization of who and what's kind of important. I do. So what tips do you have for someone who's truly busy? I think you've shared some of them, but
Yeah.
what tips do you have for someone who's truly busy but you want to maintain solid friendships?
So going back to the transparency part, right? So a lot of times when I have a big trip coming up, I reach out to certain friends who I haven't heard from in a while, and I tell them like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in between flights. I'll be in the airport for a couple of hours. Are you gonna be available?" Right? Because I also don't want them to think like, "Wait, I'm so busy. Like, are you only available when I'm available?" No, they truly know that I'm trying to make that connection. So I sometimes send out, if I haven't heard from a friend, I'll send out a message. Maybe it's a scripture or a saying or something. With that in mind, when you say tips, I always believe in that principle, like we hear when we're on a plane, you can't help someone else unless you help yourself. So
Mm,
for me, I always try to meditate and stay open. So a lot of my friendships are really on a spiritual level. And so a lot of times they might fall in my spirit to call them, or, they might fall on my mind or in my heart. And I'm very open and receptive to that. So I think it's important, whatever you believe in, that you stay open to those connections, because if it's a true connection, you can feel them, right? And so I think it's important when you say tip, the tip is be intentional about pouring into yourself and letting others do that as well, so that you're not empty when you're pouring into your friends, right?
yeah.
And you got to take ownership in that. By sometimes it's hard. Like I get up in the morning, I work out very early. That's another tip. Work out. But don't only work out your body, work out your mind, right?
Mhm.
And so when I work out, when I wake up, I'm intentional, habitual about it. Like I get up at 5 o'clock. It does not matter where I'm at in the world. I'm getting up at 5 and I'm doing my meditation. Um, and I have my private time. And then I'm working out my body and I'm thinking about those friends, and they're all in my prayers and thoughts. And then, so I think that's important. Whatever you believe in, I think it's important that if you believe in a relationship, that you're keeping those people close to you in whatever manner that you believe in to stay connected, right?
Yeah.
And then just showing up for things that's important. So sometimes I have reminders on my calendar. I think I can't operate without a calendar. So I think it's important, because I like to pop up when you're not expecting it, right? So like a friend, she was doing something, speaking. She has a speaking engagement coming up, and I just sent her a message like today. I saw it on social media. I put it in my calendar, sent her a message, and I said, "Girl, you will kill this. I'm so excited for you," and sent her flowers, right?
Mhm.
So it's just putting things in your calendar on things that are important, not always the big things, it's the small things too, so that you
Right.
can let them know that they matter. Because I think when your friend, you're transparent with them and you share with them, hey, I'm busy and I want to do all these things, I can't, because my friends know like my family is first. And so they don't invade on that. Like they're very respectful of that. But they know when I have the time and I make it, they really appreciate it. but I also want them to know that I value them. So I'm always popping in and looking for small things to do so that they understand how much I appreciate them. And then the last tip I would have is constantly evaluate, am I there for my friends, right?
Mhm.
Like, and how am I being there? And is it, am I just getting from them, or is it transactional, or is it a transformational relationship?
Mm.
And if it's not, find ways that it can be. Quick story, I had a friend where I was like, what is this friendship? So I sent her along with another friend, hey, let's do this book club thing. So we started reading books and we would share our opinion and our insight. And she really told me probably like 2 months ago how that really healed her through this relationship that she was going through. And so
Mm.
sometimes you have to know, give yourself grace that you're not going to catch it all with your friends, but constantly evaluate, how can I make sure that I am opening myself up so that if there is something my friend needs from me, I will find a way to help, even if they're not able to verbalize what that is.
Right. That's good. Okay. So, tips for busy friends. You said, and maybe not in this order, but keep a calendar. Don't be afraid to lean on your calendar. It doesn't have to feel like on Tuesday at 5, I'm going to talk to you. But if that's what it takes, then keep your calendar. So keep your calendar, eliminate some of the other distractions, like the things that are
Absolutely.
not true priorities, so that you do have time for the relationships that matter. Of course, family, I would say first, and then friends.
Mhm.
What else? What did I miss?
Transparency. Make sure that
Transparency.
they know. Yes.
Yeah. Make sure they know that you're busy. I would say on the flip side, if you are someone who has a busy friend, I have some thoughts on that. Like you're being you're being transparent with me. You've told me from day one that you are a
Mhm.
busy person. And other people have told me that you are a busy person. So I know that you are. Um, I think if we're going to be friends, I need to be patient. I need
Mhm.
to be understanding. I need to respect the things that you're doing in your life. You've worked hard to get where you are. Who am I to show up and be like, you need to have time for me? Like, that's not going to work in our friendship. So I feel like the friend who's maybe not as busy needs to be patient, needs to be understanding, stick to the schedule. I don't feel that the schedule is bad in any way. I think it helps me understand like when is there time for our
Mhm.
friendship, and I'm cool with that. Try not to take it personally. Like it's not personal that you have to work. It's not personal that you have a whole husband and 4 kids and parents, and that's where you're supposed to be. That's where your
Right.
time is supposed to be spent. So if you have an hour for lunch for me every 6 months, great, I'll take it. I think it's fine. um Come up with a plan. I know I've had busier seasons in my life and I've had slower seasons in my life. When I am in my busier seasons, I appreciate having a friend who's like, I want to hang out Saturday, 7 p.m., just show up. I appreciate that friend. I don't like to feel like I'm busy
Right.
and someone else isn't, and then I have to come up with the whole master plan too. So that's just my thing. And then I guess another thing is check in. If you know that your friend is
Yes.
busy, maybe you don't have time for a whole afternoon together, but just like you're doing, just send a text message every once in a while, make a phone call just to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. That goes an awfully long way, I think.
It does. Most definitely.
Ah, what else? Is there anything else you think we need to cover? Anything else that people should know about being busy?
I don't think so. I think you covered it with, like you said, if you're on that other end as the friend who has a friend that's busy, I would just say, let them know what you need from them.
Mm,
Because if you let me know what you need, I promise you, I will do whatever I can to make sure that that need is fulfilled, right? And we're
mm,
not talking about what you want, because you might want 2 hours of a
exactly.
lunch time with me, but what do you
Yeah.
need from
What
me?
do you need?
And as the busy friend, be willing to listen,
Hmm.
be respectful, and don't, like, oh. I am so busy and this is so petty because they have this little bitty thing. No, it is a big thing to them because no matter how busy I am and my work is important, you're just as important to me too. What you're doing is just as important. And so as the busy friend, make sure you know what they need and be there for them for the things that they need. And I think that'll take the friendship a long way.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Stewanna.
Thank you.
I know how much you're doing in life. So thank you for being here for me tonight and just, yeah, being a good friend. It's been fun getting to know you over the last, I don't know, year. I don't even know when we met
I
at
don't
this
even
point.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
it's
But
it's almost a year. Yes.
I don't even know, but it's been all good. Like I love every time that we get to spend together and I'm looking forward to more time together. So thank you, thank you, thank
Thank you.
you.
All the best. And I
Thank
will not be so busy the next time you need me.
Oh, one more thing, actually. If
Yes.
anyone wants to listen to your podcast, how can they find you?
minoritycrimes.com. That's the website. So it's Minority Crimes with an S. And you can find us on Spotify, podcasts, and anywhere that you receive your podcasts.
Excellent. And it is a very important podcast. I love you and your co-host together. You have such a great relationship and it comes through in the podcast.
Awesome.
So I wish you guys all the success in the podcast as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Back at you.
Thank you. All right, we'll hang up and I'll catch up with you soon.
All righty.
Okay, bye.